Yo, what's going on with y'all? We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be breaking down some charts, talking about DNA, past lives, all kinds of things, yo. Let me actually show y'all some of the charts we're going to get into. By the way, we got a new computer, so things are faster now. We're going to be breaking down this chart, yeah, and we're going to be breaking down. Let me see some bow. Yeah. Then backwards. Okay, bet. So let me, I'm saying we got this one. We got this one. We got this one. We got this one. We have a few things to talk about. So let me just check the chat real quick, see if y'all pulling up. Y'all know how I do. I gotta give it a couple minutes before we get into the topic. Let some of y'all pull up. Yo, what's good, King? What's popping, King? Let me pull the chat up real quick. Yeah, no. Let me pull the. Oh wait, I forgot. Okay, wait a minute. Let me. There we go. Yo, what's popping, Xavier? Yo, what's good, Mario? Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today. Got the new PC. I'm like, yo, I gotta go live with the new PC. You know what I'm saying? It's faster now. I ain't gonna be lagging as much. You know what I'm saying? We moving over here. That joint is not causing no disturbance. My app's opening up fast and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Yeah, it's pretty lit. And this topic is gonna be pretty important. I'm gonna break this down in ways that y'all might have never heard get broken down before when talking about DNA and gene activation and tapping into past life DNA and alien DNA, and because a lot of people don't even fully understand DNA like that, you know. So I'm gonna give y'all the basic introduction as to what DNA even is, right, and how DNA actually works. We're gonna talk about how DNA and specifically genes, how gene expression affects your personality, things like that. We're gonna talk about how the soul actually has DNA, the soul's template is like your soul's DNA, and how your soul gets attracted to different bodies. And we're gonna also talk about what it's like to like activate alien DNA and all that kind of stuff, and actually demystifying it, because a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to humans on earth, we share our DNA with like everything. Like sea urchins, humans and sea urchins share 70% of the same DNA, yet we look completely different because that other 30% does do a lot of change. So I'm saying this because even without thinking about how different ETs influenced our DNA and stuff like that, even without thinking about that, understand that the DNA sequence of life itself has similarities across all forms of life. We share our DNA with most of the animals on the planet. We share DNA with fruit and bananas and stuff. We're going to talk about that later, you know? And when you understand that, activating ET DNA is actually not that deep, because a lot of human DNA is the same DNA which ETs would already have anyway. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Bet I'll make sure to ask and buy this information. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I recommend that if for the people that's inside the live, if you're not in the Discord, you might want to join the Discord, because after this video, after it's uploaded, I'm gonna post this live stream link in the Discord along with a picture, or along with the different pictures of the different diagrams which I'm using for this video. So y'all can like study the picture, look at the picture, study it and stuff like that. Really, you feel me? Yo, what's popping, Ukuzi? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yo, Jeannie, I met your soul aspect of being hood in a dream. I was trying to talk to him and I knew we were dreaming. He tied me to a pole and stole a Benz, had a whole ass cop chase. That's hilarious. You know what I'm saying? I can't confirm or deny if that was really me. You know what I'm saying? That could be a lot of different things, but shit, that might have been one of my one of my gangster past lives or whatever the heck, quote unquote gangster, right? One of my more ignorant lifetimes. Cause you know what I'm saying? I did a little bit of ignorant shit in past lives. I did a lot of high shit in past lives too. A lot of highly godly shit, just like a lot of us. A lot of us have done, you know what I'm saying, lower things, higher things. We'd have been here before. We're gonna talk about that today with the DNA stuff like that also. So I'm gonna just let a few more people come inside, say hi, what's good. You know what I'm saying? Let me know how y'all doing. Let me know how y'all been since the last live stream that we did and stuff like that. I had a comment. They was like, bro, you ain't really even talk about nothing in the live stream, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's still chemtrails out here and all kinds of other stuff, bro. You was just yapping and yapping your flaps. I'm like, oh yeah, this nigga's a lame. You know what I'm saying? That shit flew over his head. Can we get the Discord link in the description or something, please? Yeah. In most of my videos in the description, if you just click on my link tree, it's there. So although right now there's no description of this video, when the video is fully uploaded, it'll be a description. But you can also just go to my link tree and you'll see the Discord there. It should be there, unless like link tree messed up my link. Yo, what's popping? Yoshida. What's popping, Yoshida? But yeah, someone was like, "Yeah, you was just yapping." I'm like, "Oh yeah, whatever." In today's video, though, it's gonna be some real stuff. So I'm about to pull up one of the charts. We good. You've been busting us, so we great now. Hey, that's what's up. Did you check why I'm banned from the server? I'm not gonna lie, forgot to do that, bro. I gotta take a note of that shit today, for sure. Did you hit me up on Discord or Genie Dot? You know what I'm saying? Hit me up on Discord, bro. If you already did, I'm gonna look at your shit after this stream. But bow. You know what I'm saying? So this is the first chart we're gonna break down. This chart breaks down what DNA is, what our genes, what our proteins. Quick disclaimer: proteins do not only deal with muscle, right? We're gonna talk about how genes are not active in every cell. We're going to talk about gene expression and the on and off switch. We're going to talk about dormant and junk DNA and what it actually means, because this part gets kind of mystified a lot and it doesn't have to be that hard to understand. So yeah, we're gonna break down this whole entire chart first, and then we're gonna go to should I do this one or this one? It depends on how I want to steer the topic. It's gonna be either this one or it's gonna be oh, that's the wrong one. I'm wilding. It's gonna be either this one or this one. I know that when it comes to this one, I gotta explain this either like third or last, but we're gonna just start with this for now. So let me just check the chat one more time. Let me just check the chat one more time. See what y'all saying. Then we're gonna get into it. It's gonna be a lot of stuff. For the people watching the playback, just skip to when I start talking about it. For the people watching the playback. All right, but I'm seeing the chat. Y'all doing good there. All right, but I think I'm gonna get into it for sure. I think I'm gonna get into it for sure. All right, bet. So let me full screen. Take that off. Take that off. Take that off. Wow. So let's first start by understanding what DNA actually is, because we cannot understand how our past lives affect our DNA if we don't understand what DNA even is. So, DNA is the molecule that's in your body which carries the instructions for how to build and run your body. It is a long, twisted ladder made of tiny building blocks called nucleotides. There are only 4 types of nucleotides, which is A, T, C, and G, but their order holds billions of instructions. So think of DNA as the master instruction manual inside every cell of your body, because every single cell in your body has DNA. And this DNA is telling your body how to build itself. Okay? So that's what DNA is. It's just information that tells you how to build your DNA and how to operate your body. And it also begins to tell you how to express yourself too. Now, what are genes? Genes are specific sections of DNA. They are the recipes in the instruction manual. Each gene tells your body how to make a specific protein. So your genes control the color of your eyes, how effective you are at muscle building. This affects your blood type. This affects how your brain functions. This affects how good your immunity, how your immune system is, and various other things too. Your genes. So imagine that the DNA is like the whole entire book, right? It's a book that tells you how to build your body. The genes deal with specific parts. It's like, okay, we have the whole entire book. That's the DNA. And then one section of that book talks about how to build the eyes. The other one talks about how to build hemoglobin for the blood and stuff like that. You see, genes are just the different instructions in the actual book of your DNA. And they tell your body how to make a specific protein. Now, what do proteins do? That's important because people think that protein just deals with building muscle. So proteins are workers that follow the instructions. They do almost everything in your body. They build muscles, skin, hair, organs. They fix cells and heal wounds. They turn food into energy and fuel. They fight viruses and keep you healthy. And they send messages via hormones, neurotransmitter, etc. Without proteins, your body cannot function. So essentially, you have the actual book. That's the DNA. You have the instructions in the book. You know, then you have the people that follow the instructions. You see? So to keep it simple, if this is like one cookbook, these are different recipes in that cookbook. These are the people who's cooking the recipe. And the cookbook is how to cook up your body, how to cook up your behavior and stuff like that. You see? Now, understand that not all genes are active in every cell. Every cell has the same DNA, but only turns on the genes that it needs. So when it comes to the cells that are in your muscles, these cells turn on genes for strength and movement. You see, in your DNA, there's things that, for example, tell you how to build your eyes. But the genes that deal with how to build your eyes, they are currently inactive when it comes to the cells in your muscles. Because your cells, once again, your cells have the whole entire book, but certain cells read different parts of that book. So the muscle cells, they read the part of the book that deals with how to build muscle, maintain muscle, all that stuff. You have brain cells, neurons. These turn on genes for communication and brain function. So although the cells in your brain have the DNA and the genes inside that DNA, which can build muscle, they don't turn on the genes for building muscle. They turn on the genes for building other things, right? Your liver cells turn on genes for detoxing, metabolism, and storage. Your immune cells turn on genes to detect and destroy. Different cells, different jobs, different genes turned on. It's all the same DNA inside of every single cell, but different cells turn on different genes inside that DNA. And that's important. You see, a lot of people like to crap on science, but like, gang, if people understood science, they would understand this. And they would also be able to understand other things like past lives and stuff like that too, through a certain lens. So let me talk about gene expression, the on and off switch. So genes act like switches. Not a Glock switch, but let me stop playing. When a gene is on, the cell reads it, it makes a protein. When a gene is off, the cell ignores it and does not make a protein. This is called gene expression. It changes based on your lifestyle and environment. Now, let's talk about what this means a bit more. So, your cells can make proteins, okay? And different proteins do different jobs. So, with that being said, inside your cells, when it reads the instruction for a certain thing and it needs that, it turns that gene on. Now that the gene is on, the proteins get made, and those proteins can do things like build muscle for like muscle cells. But the liver cells, you know what I'm saying? They have that switch turned off, and they turn on different genes that build proteins for the liver to actually build your liver and stuff like that. Now, many different things affect these switches. Your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, stress, the environment, aging, hormones, the way that you think. These things affect gene expression. And when you get into epigenetics, which we're going to talk about, you understand how genes affect personality and stuff like that too. But this is where you get dormant and junk DNA. So dormant DNA just means that there are some genes that are turned off in certain cells or times because your body doesn't need them right now. They could turn on later though, or if needed. So what I mean is, right, you're going to always have dormant DNA. You're going to always have genes that are in your DNA which are turned off. That's a good thing. Because imagine if your liver cell had the genes turned on for building muscle inside your liver, right? Like that could cause some issues possibly. You see? So certain parts of your DNA needs to be dormant because you don't need that stuff. You see? Then you have junk DNA. Junk DNA is what they also call non-coding DNA. So I understand that a large part of DNA does not actually make proteins, right? Although the proteins build the body, that's only like 1 to 2%. But there's other parts of your DNA that control different things. So some parts of your DNA help to control when and how different genes turn on and off. Some parts of your DNA protect and package your DNA. They protect and package the information. Some of it is left over from evolution in the sense that at older periods of human evolution, different genes were more active than other genes, and different parts of your DNA did different things that it doesn't need to do right now. You see? So it's not inherently useless. It's just that some of your DNA does not build proteins directly. So 1 to 2% of your DNA deals with protein coding. It deals with genes that actually make proteins which build your body. But then other parts of your DNA, most of your DNA is non-coding DNA. This is like the on this controls the on and off switch. It helps to structure your DNA, it helps to regulate it, and there's other functions as well. So that's what junk DNA actually is. It's not like inherently lost alien DNA, but I do want to tell you that alien DNA is inside of us. And it doesn't have to be hard to understand either. You see? But yeah, so let's make it simple. The big picture. You have DNA, that's the library. It's a complete set of instructions. Your genes are different recipes, different instructions inside the library. Then you have proteins. These are the workers. These are the workers that build, repair, and run your body based upon these instructions. Then you get your body, the expression of your DNA through trillions of cells. Same DNA, different expressions, a very unique you. So that's the first thing I want to cover. Now, let me check some comments real quick. Let me check the chat, see if y'all understanding that. Did y'all understand that? You know what I'm saying? Y'all need clarity on something? Let me see. Let me see what y'all, you know what I'm saying? Let me see what y'all, you know what I'm saying? You feel me? Let me pull the chat up. Bow. I had a dream where I discovered I had an op DNA. I'm dead. LOL. I wish you're my professor in anatomy physiology. I would have had a better grades. Probably, bro. Now, granted, I'm not like a professor level at all, but I know what you mean, bro. They should have been teaching us this shit in school. You know what I'm saying? They did technically the shit I just put on the chart they do actually tell us that shit in school. Like that part actually is in school. But they make it boring though. They make it boring. You gotta learn about the cell structure and mitochondria and shit. And that stuff does have an importance, but it's like niggas get bored. You feel me? Niggas get bored. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I feel you on that. Yo, what's good? Primordial was popping. My immune system's got them Glocks on them. Blood types have a very important spiritual meaning. It said that blood type O. I mean, yeah, I will say that really everybody's blood is unique. Like, although there are like the main blood types, even inside those blood types, everyone's blood is unique, you know? And that's because, like I mentioned the DNA, that like some parts of your DNA, certain genes help to make your blood, and it does it a very specific way. Like, granted, a lot of it's the same for everybody because you know hemoglobin, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. You know, stuff that makes up blood is universal for humans and other beings on Earth too. You know what I'm saying? Now when it comes to blood types and stuff like that, and like type O and da 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 da, You know what I'm saying? I've heard that you could look at people's blood type and find out certain information, but honestly, bro, I wouldn't even put too much stock into that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a nigga right now with type O positive who's not acting from the original soul template, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? And the soul exists beyond blood. Blood holds information from your soul, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? So I know that people talk about that stuff, and I'm not denying it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not denying. Yeah, so all parts of junk DNA is useful. You know what I'm saying? It's not junk. It's just DNA that doesn't. They thought it was junk because the previous understanding of DNA was that DNA helps to build your body. So when they saw that some parts of your DNA did not deal with making these proteins that build your body, they thought it was just junk. Over time, they saw that no, it's not junk. This DNA does do stuff. It just doesn't make protein. It just doesn't have genes that make proteins that build certain parts of your body. Some parts of your DNA just hold your DNA together. So it's not like most junk DNA is useful. Only a small amount isn't useful, which is the stuff from like evolution, like stuff that we evolved out of, gene expression that we evolved out of. But yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? That's a fact. You know, like junk DNA is not just junk, and they don't call it like junk DNA is an old term. They don't call it that anymore. They call it non-coding DNA. Like scientists already know that it's not junk anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been got over that. It's just new age people catching up, trying to, you know what I'm saying, propagate that since there's junk DNA is alien stuff. And granted, there is alien DNA, but there's about junk DNA. Yeah, so it's this part isn't even junk DNA. This is just dormant DNA. So there are certain genes in your body that deal with certain abilities. That's dormant DNA that you're not activating because you're not thinking in a way and you're not vibrating with that aligns with that. We're going to talk about that. But that's not junk DNA. You know what I'm saying? That's dormant DNA. Two different things. You know what I'm saying? Dormant DNA is when you have your DNA that has certain genes, but those genes just aren't turned on. Junk DNA or non-coding DNA is just the parts of your DNA that don't deal with having genes that make proteins that build certain parts of your body. You see? But anyway, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like people just like people say that, and I get what they mean and stuff like that. But in this video, we're gonna get very specific, right? On some science, on some scientific, logical, intellectual shit. Although you should transcend the intellect, this is going to help your mind understand DNA and shit like that, and how your soul also affects your DNA. We're going to get it more into that. But yeah, back to this one. Yeah, it's somebody right now with type O positive, and they're not acting like an original soul template versus somebody else that has like type B, whatever the heck, and they acting like an original soul template, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, there's not even an original soul template. That's not even like a thing in my opinion, because our soul, all of our souls have different templates, right? We have our own unique soul DNA, you could say. So I don't even view that there's like an original soul template, but I do get that some talk about like the original bloodlines, like the original humans and shit like that. But I don't even like to put too much stock into that shit. That shit could be true, but I'm not even about it. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I get into. Also, I had to travel down lower realms to reclaim have my energy. Word. Somebody get kicked somebody of the last 20. I'm dead. We talked about what DNA. I'll summarize the picture and stuff like that. I got you, bro. Some DNA is that it's not inherently all DNA is technically God DNA. You know what I'm saying? Like all like, and this is what I try to mean. Like, there's not like it's not like what's your DNA. Some junk DNA is God, some's alien. That's not how that works. No, technically, all your DNA is God DNA. Like, understand that when higher God beings, because we didn't always get born through wombs, there was a period of time when we could just make ourselves physical. That's because when we made ourselves physical, we made our own DNA. So, like, and that same DNA is in all humans right now. Like, everyone had, like, a lot of us, especially humans, but like even with other animals, we share a lot of DNA. I think we got that's the next one to talk. Perfect. Because I was debating like which picture do I show next? It got to be that one. It got to be that one. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard certain stuff for so many years, so it's hard for your mind to break beyond what you've been told all this time. But let me actually frame it for you in a way where it really makes sense. So let's talk about shared DNA, right? Because like I said, like I was just trying to tell y'all, let me put a picture up. It's not that with junk DNA. Actually, let me go back to the other picture too, real quick. Let me go back a little bit, right? So for the one that was asking about what this was about, this was about how this was about what DNA is, what genes are, what proteins are, understanding gene expression, inactive genes, dormant DNA, junk DNA, stuff like that. And with dormant, once again, dormant DNA is just when you have genes in your DNA that are currently turned off. Now, some genes should be turned off. Other genes, you could turn them on and experience extrasensory abilities. Like, for example, when it comes to your neurons, right? Your neurons could actually express different capabilities if you thought differently. And there's genes that deal with psychic stuff that would affect your neurons, but they're currently turned off because you do not think in a way that allows that gene to turn on. You see? So if anything, it wouldn't be junk DNA. It really there'd be God genes and human genes. Like there's some genes that just build the body, other genes control how you express yourself, other genes control psychic abilities. It would be more that there's genes that are more godlike, you could say. But I wouldn't even say that because once again, when we could just form ourselves on earth like just being a soul and then just becoming physical, not having to be born through a womb. What we do is that we had our soul, and that soul had a certain template. That soul had its own DNA, and then that soul formed a light body, and that light body was a direct expression of that soul's DNA, and then that light body condensed into physical matter. And that physical matter, that physical body had physical DNA that reflected the soul's template, essentially. And this is why you get bored inside certain bloodlines because of your quote unquote soul's DNA. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is when it comes to when your soul was at a point where it could form itself physically, it had DNA that just made the physical body. It had DNA that accounted for building your eyes. It had DNA that built muscle. Like the same DNA that we got now is the same shit that the gods had. It's just that some of our genes might not be fully expressing themselves how they could. Some genes might not be activated. That's dormant DNA, not junk DNA. Two different things. Because dormant DNA still deals with DNA that has protein that slow down. Dormant DNA still deals with DNA that has genes which make proteins. Junk DNA deals with the DNA that doesn't deal with genes and making proteins. Some parts of your DNA control when your genes turn on and off, opposed to other parts of your DNA that have genes which make proteins. So dormant DNA deals with genes that make protein. It's just that some of the genes are not fully active. They're dormant. Junk DNA, aka non-coding DNA, is just DNA that doesn't deal with this. It says every other part of your DNA that doesn't deal with genes that make proteins. You see? All right. Now we're gonna break down. I think I want to do this chart and explain DNA similarity and stuff like that. I actually got to put up a different chart real quick, actually, because I gotta. I should have checked this chart before I hopped on the John because there's supposed to be certain numbers right here that are not there, but they're inside of a different picture. So I ended up having when you start making like these charts with AI be motherfucking you know what I'm saying, be messing up your shit sometime. Luckily, since I have a new computer, I can easily pull up the other picture without it lagging on me. So let me see. Yeah, we do, but it made. Oh my god, the picture's super ugly now, though. I'm about to show. I'm sorry that it's all white like this now, but fuck it, y'all. You know what I'm saying, the information is most important. All right, so let me pull this back up. Let me take this down. Pull this back up. When I send this picture to the Discord, it's gonna be better. You know what I'm saying? Like the old one looked more like this. It was darker and shit. This one low key bright as hell. And maybe y'all don't mind that. You feel me? But for ones that do mind that, I apologize. Now, real quick, I'm gonna check the chats one more time. Then I'm gonna break this joint down real quick. Let me check the chats out real quick. You know what I'm saying? Let me check the chats out real quick. See what y'all ladies and gents is talking about. I'm tickled by this conversation. I'm glad to hear that. I hope it's tickling you in all kinds of good ways. I became a necromancer? Nigga, what? You doing necromancy? You fucking with the dead, man? You just talking to the dead? You could talk to, you know what I'm saying? You want to talk to the dead? I could fuck with that. Talk to some ghosts and shit. Be careful, of course. But talk to, you know what I'm saying, your ancestors and shit, you know what I'm saying? But like, or is you trying to summon the dead and you trying to raise zombies and shit? Because that's a different story. You feel me? You on fire, bro? Been bitching your videos since I found you. Yeah, word. I'm glad to hear that, bro. Glad to hear that shit. Artorian level, you know what I'm saying? Low Artorian, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, let me just fuck it. I was gonna check the comments, but I gotta break down the picture so we can understand ETs and ET DNA and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because to make a simple comparison right now, right? Oh, wrong thing. Right now we have certain genes that theoretically help us to think, right? Now, the genes that help us to think, other beings have genes that help them think also. And they're probably the same exact genes. Some just might be more active than other. Some beings might just have thinking genes that are more active in them than other people. Now, I'm saying this because let's say you had an Altorian past life, and Altorians have the thinking gene always turned on, opposed to humans that have it turned on, then off, then on, then off, right? If you are a person if you had Altorian past lives and you incarnate in a physical body, what would happen is that thinking gene, you would just turn that on more than other humans that don't have a soul that's tapped in with Alturas, you could say. But let me explain that a bit deeper though, when I talk about this shit right here. You know what I'm saying? So what does shared DNA actually mean? First things first, DNA similarity is not the same as protein gene similarity. So DNA similarity is how similar is the entire instruction manual. DNA DNA similarity compares everything in the genome, not just the genes. So you have the whole entire book. Your DNA is the whole entire book. It's the different genes, the different recipes inside the book, different notes, timers, index pages, on and off switches, non-coding regions, repeated sections, blank pages. You know what I'm saying? It's the whole book, right? So if two books are 98.8% identical page for page, that's 98.8% DNA similarity. That's what we have with chimpanzees. So it's like the book of humans is damn near the same book for the book of chimpanzees according to DNA. You know what I'm saying? Now when it comes to lions, nigga, it's the same with lions and shit. My nigga. With lions, the book of humans is 90% similar to the book of lions, my nigga. When it comes to a banana, the book of humans is 60% the same as the book of bananas. That's important to understand. Why is it important to understand? Because you can see that we share a lot of DNA with a lot of the things on this planet. It would be the same with alien DNA. Because what does this mean? This means that only 10% of human DNA is separate from a lion, which means that what we consider a human DNA isn't even human DNA, since all these other motherfuckers have a percentage of that shit. Nigga, we can't call it we can't call it the book of human if this book is damn near the same as this book. It's the same book. They just took out a couple pages and rearranged some shit. You know what I'm saying? Hello? You feel me? Even with the fucking banana. What we think is human DNA, nigga, 50% of that, like what 50% of that shit is not. Hold up, my fault. So, what we think of as human DNA, right? If we share 50 to 60% of our DNA with a goddamn banana, well, I know what that means. This means that half of what we think is human DNA isn't even human DNA. And it's not banana DNA either, because once again, all of us have it. It's not just with human, like like I said, sea urchins, it's like humans have a 70% DNA similarity in everything. At the end of this, we can actually look up different animals and how much we can even look up trees. How much DNA we share with trees. We'll look that shit up too. Because this starts to show us that when it comes to DNA, what we think is human DNA is not human DNA. Nigga, DNA is a natural product of fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Life itself manifests as DNA, and that DNA is what gives form, or the DNA is what gives instructions to form what looks like a human or a chimpanzee or a lion or a banana. So the DNA came first, not the human. You can't say that it's human DNA if the DNA came first. The DNA is what made the human, not the other way around. It's not human DNA. It's just DNA that had instructions, which eventually built a human. But those same instructions can be applied to a goddamn chimpanzee if you just take out a few pages. And them same instructions can be applied to a goddamn banana if you just take out like half of the pages. You know what I'm saying? But some of this shit is still the same. You feel me? So now let's talk about protein gene similarity. So this is how many of the same recipes do we both have? So protein gene similarity compares only the genes that build proteins, which is about 1 to 2% of the genome. So if two cookbooks have the same recipes, even if the rest of the book is different, that's gene similarity. So it's like DNA similarity is the whole entire book. You know what I'm saying? And the book doesn't just have recipes. The book has different shit like nigga when to turn on and off. It has the DNA has all kind of stuff. The recipes is just like 1 or 2% of the book. But although some books might look mad different, they still have some of the same recipes. So whether it's a cook like so you might have one cookbook, right? That's about how to build, that's about how to make fucking Italian food. And then you have another book that's about American food. And both of those books have entirely different foods. But sometimes you peep that, oh, wait a minute, this American cookbook has a pizza recipe, and that's the same recipe for this Italian cookbook's pizza. So even though it's two different cookbooks, it might have all different kinds of foods inside this bitch, all kinds of other shit. You see, with the cookbook also, it don't just got recipes, it has the history of certain shit too. You know what I'm saying? It has the history of certain stuff. It has the history of Italian food, where stuff came from, the history of where American food came from, and all kinds of stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of the stuff in the book is different, but we can't lie. They both got the same pizza recipe. So that's protein gene similarity. So let's get into some examples, right? Humans and chimpanzees share 98% same DNA. Almost the entire instruction manual matches. This is why we both have 2 arms, 2 legs, similar brains, similar organs, similar skeleton. Understand that whether it's a chimpanzee liver or a human liver, nigga, is still a liver. And some livers do form differently. But even when livers form differently, some of the DNA is going to be the same all across the board when it comes to liver. It's just that it's gonna be the same DNA for how to make the liver, but it's gonna be the same. Okay, so in your DNA, there's instructions to build your liver. Okay, now when those instructions activate, how long those instructions are on for. This is going to be different based upon the person, but it's still the same instructions of how to build a liver. It's just about when one being does it versus when a different being does it. Like some beings might develop their heart first, then their liver. Other beings do their liver first, then their heart. You know what I'm saying? It might be that. I'm not exactly sure. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know like what organs we form first as a baby. I didn't look into all that shit. I didn't give a fuck. At least not for this topic. But my point is the fact that also like so like if a being has a bigger liver than a human, it was the same instruction for building a liver. It's just that with this instruction stayed on for longer, so the liver is bigger in a different creature than us, but it's the same exact instructions though. You know what I'm saying? Then you have protein gene similarity. So not only is our books are damn near the same, right? We might have like some We might have some recipes that are different. You know, we might leave certain recipes. We might use certain recipes more times than the other species. Like sometimes certain like if it's gonna be food, right? It's like we could have the same recipes, but inside of your book, you cook this meal 3 times a week. Inside of my book, I cook this bitch 5 times a week. You know what I'm saying? So like some of the book is still different. You know what I'm saying? You know, like we don't cook the same recipe as often, but bitch, it's still the same recipe though, nigga. The book is damn near the same. It's just some recipes are a little bit different. Some foods we cook more often than other foods. You get the point, right? And then with protein gene similarity, this means that we use almost the same protein recipes. So examples are like hemoglobin, you know what I'm saying? Myosin for muscle movement, collagen, which builds skin and tissue, DNA polymerase, however you say that, copies DNA, right? And this is the same as like fucking with like lions and shit. Lions have hemoglobin genes, even with collagen. We have collagen also. Keratin, we have keratin also too. Now with them, like when it comes, like for example, like lions have whiskers. We don't have whiskers. That's because they have the same genes that help them to build hair. They have the same genes that help them to build hair, but the way that they build the hair might be different. So like we both have the genes that make hair and nails, but the way in which their hair and nails form is different than how our hair and nails form. Same instructions, different applications of those same instructions. Sometimes they use, sometimes some beings might use more keratin than we use. It's the same keratin, but this animal just used it a little bit more. Same with ETs. That ET just used it a little bit more. You see? Because mind you, we have different animals on the planet because this is like a library planet. Like these can be considered ETs. That's why a lot of ETs look like the animals on Earth and stuff like that, because they came from the stars first, not the other way around. These ETs planted their DNA in the Earth. And that's why on Earth, we share a lot of the same exact DNA. And it gets all here on Earth. So yeah, with lions, right? We share 90% DNA similarity. So this means that many chapters are the same, but many have been rewritten. So we both have a heart, we both have lungs, we both have eyes, we both have muscles, but they have a tail, they have a mane, they have claws, they have a four-legged body, right? Your genes will include information about building 2 arms and 2 legs versus just 4 legs. So when it comes to like a lyran, for example, think about it like this: if lyrans are humanoid feline beings and we share 90% of DNA with a four-legged lion, we probably share more DNA with the lyran ET. The fact that the motherfucker is also standing on 2 feet with 2 arms, nigga, that's an extra thing that we have between us and lyrans that we don't have between humans and like the lion animals on Earth and stuff like that. You see? Like a lot of these animals on Earth that we have close DNA similarity to, understand that with the ET version, it's more similar DNA, which shows you that it's not human DNA and ET DNA. It's the same DNA being expressed in different kinds of ways. Or let me not say the same, but it's similar DNA. The books damn near got the same chapters, dinner got the same recipes, but it's just that we use different recipes. You know what I'm saying? Different chapters are ordered differently. We express different genes at different times. So we start to look very different, although at the root, a lot of our DNA is actually the same. Protein gene similarity, right? I talked about this. We still share the same, we still share many of the same proteins, like blood stuff, you know what I'm saying? Muscle stuff, collagen, keratin, all that. Human and a banana. So humans and bananas have around 50 to 60% of the same DNA. So their gene content they have similar gene content, although the whole entire genome is much less similar. So this is why, like humans, we grow legs and arms, but they just look like fucking this. You know what I'm saying? Because like there might like there is DNA that says like there's DNA that has genes like right here. There's DNA which has genes that make energy. So like we both make energy and shit like that. But like the way that we make energy and the way that we use it, that shit's a little bit different. A lot of bit different. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so the instruction manuals between humans and bananas, they're pretty different. That's why we have a brain, we have a heart, we have bones, we have muscles. They have roots, leaves, flowers, and fruit. You know what I'm saying? They build themselves differently because they have way more DNA that's not similar to ours. But even with that, 60% is still over half. So even with and once again with a sea urchin, that's like 70%. Sea urchins look so different from humans, but 70% of our DNA is the same. 70% of this book is the same. It don't take that much DNA to make you look different. This is 90%. A simple 10% difference makes you go from this to a fucking lion. That's crazy when you really think about it. So yeah, DNA similarity. It tells us how similar the entire instruction manual is. The higher the percentage, the more closely related the species are overall. Then you have protein gene similarity. This is recipes only. It tells us how many of the same protein making recipes we share for basic cell functions. These jobs are essential for all life. Now, I will read this part down here too. I'm kind of cutting it. Let me move myself over real quick. You know what I'm saying? Um, Humans and bananas don't share similar bodies. They share some of the same cellular recipes. Humans and chimpanzees share both many of the same recipes and almost the same instruction manual, which is why they resemble us much more closely. But even with that, once again, this is still very fucking 60% is fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? With our protein shits, you know what I'm saying? We both have ribosomes that build proteins. We have DNA repair proteins. We both have DNA polymer, however you say that copies DNA. We both have ATP. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro. So when you understand this, you start understanding that what you think is human DNA is not human DNA. It's just DNA. Because we share a lot of the same DNA with so many things, but we look so different. Which is that we cannot claim this DNA as human if this same DNA does similar things for other species. Like we both have a heart. You know what I'm saying? Us both having a heart, right? Having a heart's not a uniquely human thing. Nigga, a lot of beings have hearts. You know what I'm saying? Same with eyes. Now, the way that our eyes build might be different, but we still all have eyes. So the DNA in the genes that help you to make your eye, that's not like human DNA. That's just eye DNA. But the other parts of your DNA tell those genes how to express themselves, when to express themselves, all that type of stuff, which is why things could begin to look so different when you only have a small percentage of DNA that's not similar, when the rest of this stuff pretty much is. So let me check the chats real quick. Let me see if y'all understanding and stuff like that. We got two more pictures to go. Yeah, nah, saying, I gotta, I gotta actually go to YouTube before I put the chat back up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Bow, bow, cool. You feel me? The worship gene. I'm not gonna talk about that because I can't confirm that that's actually a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, besides like, understand that you don't even got to see us as having a worship gene, because there's beings that don't have DNA. There's beings that don't have physical DNA that still worship other beings. You could leave your body and encounter non-physical beings that still worship something else. Because worship is not just a product of DNA. It's a product of the mind and separation. You see, when you have separation, you start to see yourself as separate from other things, and because you see yourself as separate, you might also put those things on a pedestal. Now you worship it. So there might be a worship gene, but like I cannot confirm that. You know what I'm saying? Because like although your genes do affect how you express yourself, they're not like the only factor. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not the only factor whatsoever. the mind itself can make you worship something regardless of your human DNA. There's beings that are not humans that still worship other beings. There's ETs that that worship higher beings. And they don't and once and this is why I am saying, like, if there's a worship gene, it's not just like no specific human thing, because several beings do this. Really, all lower of all beings fall into that trap. So is it really a worship gene? Really, the worship gene would really the worship gene would just be a product of like some type of survival gene, because part of worship is built upon survival, right? You put something higher than yourself and you revere so that it could benefit you and it could keep you alive, essentially, right? Like a lot of people only worship God because they fear death and going to hell. A lot of worship is based upon survival. People live in survival mode, and they're like, yo, if I worship this being, they might bless me with some fucking money. That's a survival G. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like we hear all the stories online. I know what they say, but I can't confirm that or deny that. So there could be one, but I can't talk about it that much. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a specific thing that really is there, because I don't know. You feel me? But I bet I kind of understand this where, yeah, I get this. Yeah, I talked about that. You know what I'm saying? Torian, is that why some people say we need to get light coordinated? Yeah, but that's not even what you need. Like, light does affect your, like, all right. So light does affect what genes express themselves. For example, when it comes to like melatonin and serotonin, depending on the sunlight you get, that's going to affect how you produce melatonin and serotonin. There's genes that help you to do that. And depending on the light that you get, those genes will turn on and off to make melatonin and serotonin. You see? So, with that being said, light can awaken your DNA, but like it's not all about just sitting in the sunlight. You know what I'm saying? Mindsets can activate your DNA before getting light. Like there's someone who's in the sunlight right now. And think about it like this, because this is why you can have people that are melanated who go in the sun and they get burned faster than someone else who goes in the sun who might be lighter skinned, but they don't get burned. That's a real thing, because it's not just about the physical melanin, it's about the mindset that you have, which allows your body to do certain things. See, your mindset will turn on most of your genes alone. Simple mindsets and habits will turn on your genes. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit too. You feel me? That's why, like if you believe you could take in the sun and use the sun and stuff like that, your genes are gonna respond to that. They're like the genes that help you to take in energy and do that shit. They're gonna activate. You see, but if you don't have the mindset for that shit, you might go in the sun and get your ass burned. You feel me? That's a fact. You never wish people. Yeah, I appreciate you. You've seen trying to throw out the gems to have where that's what's up. Is the dream world considered the same thing as the spiritual world? Yeah, yeah. Okay, it really depends. For a lot of people, yeah. If you want to get specific, there is plane number 5 can be referred to as the spiritual plane, but like I wouldn't even focus on that. When most people talk about the spirit world, they just mean like the other side. They just mean the astral plane and higher planes beyond that. And dreams are the astral plane. It's just the astral plane inside of your own mind. So it's like you're just inside of your own astral creations, opposed to being outside of your body and stuff like that with an OBE. You see? So yeah, you can consider the dream or the spirit world, because when most people use that term, they just refer to the astral plane and higher planes, even the etheric plane. You know what I'm saying? Facts. You on fire? Oh yeah, I read that. Appreciate you, bro. I read that, John too. This man is Sun Jin Woo. Oh, I fuck with that show. Only Star Seeds. His name was Sincerius. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? You probably from there. You probably had past lives in that star system. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if you need a one-on-one, bro, go to my website. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wrong John. Go to my website. I do offer OBE advice and stuff like that. So you need a one-on-one for OBEs, you know what I'm saying? That right there. The course will help you a lot also. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? The course will help you a lot for sure. If you don't want to get the course and stuff like that, you could book a session, talk about that or some other things, bro. You feel me? For Shelsky. But I appreciate the Patreon support for sure, my guy. Of course. Then I she lost a banana. LOL, JK. Yeah, we sure did name a lot of fruits. I can revive anyone now. Revive where we are bananas. Is that why we this world is bananas? Because we are bananas. I'm dead. I think you meant like is that why the world's bananas? That's why it's crazy because we're bananas. LOL. Oh, so DNA is just the yes, it's just the instructions that build your body. Like how there's a process for making glass, the other types of glass would just be like yes, yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying? There's a basic blueprint for how to make glass, right? It's the same instructions, but you might use different instructions at different periods of time. You might do certain processes longer than other processes and stuff like that. Same with the body. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain genes that help you to grow and get taller, right? So people that are tall, they just had that gene turned on for longer. You know what I'm saying? They just had more growth hormone being produced and shit like that. That's what made them taller. You know what I'm saying? Facts. Notifications do be butt, bro. I ain't gonna cat. I learned how to I'm dead. Someone told me was saying from the clouds, I'm like, yeah, yeah, bro. Like literally, life itself like as above, so below. Life existed out there first before it came down here. You know what I'm saying? ETs have put all their DNA inside this bitch. But even before ETs put their shit inside here, chess, chess being in this creation, we have similar templates. You know what I'm saying? Like Lyrans and what's another type of fucking race? Lyrans and some like fish beings, right? They're gonna share DNA somewhere. Because if you have a fish being that has 2 arms and 2 legs, and you also have a lyran with 2 arms and 2 legs, that means that there was a gene inside both of these creatures that's the same, which made them produce 2 legs and 2 arms. How does mindset affect genes? Be patient. I told you I'm gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? Be patient. I got you. You know what I'm saying? Be patient, my guy. Um, partially we chose this. We choose this in an unconscious way. Then we're gonna get there for sure. It might be time to just get there now. So, but yeah, it's just instructions. You know what I'm saying? I presume understanding that allows to activate in the body more of the time. In a sense, when you it's more when you because the thing is, we like there's somebody who don't know about shit that I'm saying, but because they have like an ET mindset, they're activating ET DNA. And I put quotes because we just established how it's not ET DNA. But like, yeah, people are always like people that have certain abilities, they have genes that allow them to have those abilities. Like their genes are just turned on. Like we all have the same genes. They just turn their shit on. You know what I'm saying? Even if they don't understand the concept of turning on and off genes, they can still do that shit. And some are doing it better than us. Understanding this allows us to understand the mechanism, and then we can utilize it better because we know what it actually is. Because people talk about these things, but they don't talk about it like this. You feel me? Oh, Shabby picked that Cash out of class today. Shout out my boy Cash. Yeah, yeah. I'm saying my boy in the school and shit like that. Join the school and shit like that. That shit though, you're not inside there. You feel me? Um, but yeah, it can help us though, especially the later parts I'm about to explain with like how we turn on certain genes and shit. That's gonna make a lot more sense with how we can actually utilize this information. When a person with disabilities is born, is it because they are not able to make it healthy body, or is it something that is planned? I know. There's a lot that goes into that, my boy. But on a physical level, their genes and DNA are expressing themselves in wonky ways. Like DNA mutations, that just makes your DNA and your genes express themselves in wonky ass ways. And now you have shit like Down syndrome. You know what I'm saying? But like there is an aspect to your soul that can influence that to happen. I'm about to talk about that right now. Yo, what's good, my guy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Pierre table is a grimoire. Interesting thought. One could see it like that, to be honest. But anyway, All right, let's talk about the next topic, bro. Because y'all asking questions, it's gonna be answered with this next shit. Let me just get. Oh, my water is right here. Thank God. Hmm. All right. So next, we're gonna talk about. Should we do epigenetics or should we do how the soul? Actually, I'm gonna ask y'all which chart you want to break down first. Y'all want to do? See, we can really do either or. Do y'all want to do this one, which is like epigenetics, how your genes make you act in certain kinds of ways and how your genes can turn on and off and how you can influence that shit? Or do you want to go into more like how the soul chooses its body and how the soul picks a body that has a gene expression that's going to align with this current expression inside the light body? Which one y'all want to do? This one, once again, is epigenetics, right? How your genes affect your behavior, how your genes affect your personality, and how outside things also affect your gene expression. This is about this right here. This one is about how your spirit forms a soul, how that soul activates parts of its template through the mind, how that leads to your light body having a certain expression, and then how that light body picks a physical body to actually inhabit. Which one you want to talk about first? Um, you want to do? We'll call this one number one, and this one number two. So number one or number two. You know what I'm saying? What y'all trying to do? Number one or number two? What you trying to do? Epigenetics. Number two, number one. So we have two ones. I'm gonna give y'all. Oh, actually, I can make a fucking poll inside this bitch. Can I? Two, number one. I'm gonna make a poll. I think I can make a poll inside this bitch. Hold up. Let me find out how to do that real quick. I'm pretty sure I definitely can. Yeah. Start a poll. All right. Nigga, can I change this to 1, 2? Start. Did I do that right? I think I did. I did do that right. Okay, let me pull this shit up real quick. This is so fucking tough, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? It seems like number two is winning. All right, that's 10 votes. Number two wins by 6 people. I bet let's end that poll. That shit was fun as fuck, nigga. We're gonna start doing more polls in this bitch. You feel me? Number two. All right, but I was thinking number two, so we could do that for sure. Let me and that's a good segue, low key, because number two can directly eventually feed back into number one. Because number two, how your soul picks a body, and then how the genes in that body begin to express itself in picture number one. So let's pull the chart up and begin to break this motherfucker down. Begin to break this motherfucker down. You know what I'm saying? Break the motherfucker down. All right, cool. So this is talking about the soul's journey from eternal spirit to physical incarnation. So first you have the eternal spirit. The eternal spirit is the infinite part of you. I broke down this chart right here in a different live stream that's called Awakening Divine Origins. If you haven't seen that, watch that shit. Nigga, we broke down this shit, broke down this John, broke down this chart. You know what I'm saying? So your spirit draws from infinite experiences, different lifetimes, creations, and wisdom, right? Your spirit pulls from, because your spirit contains all of you. Everything that you are is inside your spirit, right? Different past lives, different talents, lessons, strengths, desires, potentials, creativity, wisdom, intuition, purpose, right? All of that shit gets weaved into a blueprint by the architectural spirit. So your eternal spirit is your eternal essence. Your architectural spirit is just the part of your eternal spirit that makes your soul's template. Your architectural spirit is the divine architect that structures and organizes all these different elements into a unique blueprint, right? From here, you get the soul's template, what I'm calling the soul's DNA. This is a blueprint of unique potential containing all the different codes, qualities, and paths which the soul needs for its different experiences. This template gives your soul a certain sense of creativity, discipline, courage, resilience, compassion, imagination, curiosity, all that. You know what I'm saying? It contains your past lives, present lives, future lifetimes, different timelines. It's literally the information that deals with how your soul can naturally express itself. That's why every single soul is unique, because we have unique DNA. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Um, Bow. So from the soul's template, the soul's eventually born, right? The soul should have been here, to be honest, but the AI is never perfect. So yeah, but you should have the soul that gets born from that. Then you get the mind. The mind activates soul DNA. So through beliefs, thoughts, ideas, perceptions, and focus, it turns certain codes on and others off. For example, if you believe that you are a Lyran, you can actually tap into that inside of your template, right? Now, if you think that Lyrans aren't even real, it kind of makes it hard to tap into that. You see what I'm saying? So your mind itself will allow you to tap into your template, because you could only access things in your template which you're open to, you know? So if you have certain beliefs that block you from accessing certain parts of yourself, those parts of your soul's DNA will be turned off. And it's gonna also affect your physical DNA. Um, so the mind acts as a switchboard and a filter. It turns different codes and information on by aligning its beliefs with those different codes. It focuses its attention on those different things. Like it might focus on tapping into Lyran past lives, to tap into Lyran past lives, right? It repeats empowering thoughts and ideas that match that part of the DNA. Feeling a sense of conviction and taking aligned actions. And being in environments that even help to activate those parts of your soul. How it turns certain codes off when you hold limiting beliefs, when when your mind is distracted or it can't focus on one thing, when you have fear and doubt, that shuts off a lot of your soul potential. You know what I'm saying? Repeating disempowering thoughts, avoiding aligned action. It's going to be hard to activate certain soul DNA if you don't take the actions which that part of yourself is actually aligned with. You see, the mind does not create the codes; it selects which ones are expressed. It is the operator, not the programmer, right? This goes into your light body. You see, before you have a physical form, you have a form that's made out of light. And you can make your form look different ways depending on what parts of yourself you activate. I could leave my body and I could look like my Lyran self. I could look like my Askanadi self. I could look like my Zazmari self, because I could use my mind to tap into those codes and reflect that through my form. But if I don't know I could do that, the light body that I have is going to be limited. So the activated codes flow into the light body, shaping its form, personality, vibration, expression, and its creative power. The light of the light body helps to animate the physical form. Then this is when you get resonance. The soul's vibration and expression acts like a magnet. It is naturally drawn to a physical body, family, and environment that matches its current frequency and the current needs that it has. So, your body is not directly aligned with your soul's DNA, but it's aligned with the parts of your soul's DNA which you are expressing at the time of incarnation. This is why if you die and you feel like a victim and you let certain beings treat you like a victim and you have the expression of a victim, you might get reincarnated into a family where you are a victim of harmful things, because that the gene expression of that body literally matched the expression of your soul in that period of time. The template has higher and lower timelines. And with the template, understand that with the template, right? Because the same soul can have many experiences. Your template's always being updated, just like with your genes. Your gene, like you have different genes that's being turned on, turned off all the time. Your DNA and your genes are always being influenced. You know what I'm saying? Same with your soul template. It's always being made in this moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's being influenced by your soul also. Your soul is going to control what your soul and your mind and your beliefs, all that's just going to control what parts of your template you express. Same with our DNA right now. You see? So over here, I showed the light body being attracted. It's like, oh, right here, it can't go to this family. The vibration and path do not align. Same way here, the vibrations and the path of that family does not align. But then it finds a match. It finds a family that has perfect resonance, and the soul is drawn in. And it's not. This is not always like a conscious choice. Once again, your soul gets naturally pulled to certain bodies depending on your awareness. Like if you're not that aware, you're going to just get pulled to a family that matches your current expression. But if you wake up to who you are as a soul and you understand your ultimate authority, then when you pass away, you can choose to reincarnate and you have more control over what family you do it inside of. Granted, you will only have access to certain families because you'll know that inside this lifetime, I want to express myself in X, Y, and Z way, and only certain families can help me to do that in a physical way. So then you pick those families. With that being said, yeah, with your soul's template, it has higher and lower timelines. So your soul's template might contain the potential to reincarnate. People don't think about that. You know what I'm saying? There's a potential for your soul to reincarnate if it turns on that gene. But if you don't turn the reincarnation gene on, you'll stop reincarnating. You know what I'm saying? There's a gene that can make you worship. You know what I'm saying? You can turn that on or off. All that, your soul has a lot of potential to express many things, higher and lower. Now, I will say that when it comes to the nature of reality, everything is going to be for a reason. You know, your lower expressions and your higher ones, like even your lower expressions your lower expressions at some point will lead to your higher self again. So whether you incarnate 1,000 times or you never reincarnate, nigga, every single incarnation will provide a lesson for you to return back to your soul. So even if you are expressing lower timelines, those timelines still provide lessons and growth for your soul, most definitely. You see? But yeah, then you get incarnation. The soul enters the body. The light of the soul animates the physical form. The physical DNA and lineage provide the perfect vehicle for the soul to express, learn, create, and evolve in this lifetime. Physical DNA becomes the biological vehicle for expressing soul DNA. Now, let me say something real quick, right? Understand that this is why when it comes to like how you look across several lifetimes, you can look the same across several different lifetimes. That's because when you inhabit a vessel, your soul does influence what genes turn on and off. And when it comes to building your face, like we all have the same genes for like building a mustache, building our eyes, building our eyelashes. It's just about how long certain genes get activated for. You know what I'm saying? When they get activated, like some people, like when it comes to like mustaches, right? Like with me right now, my genetics, right? The way that my genes express themselves, they're not expressing themselves in a way that gives me like a full beard over here. But my genes do express themselves in a way that does give me a mustache. Now we all have the same genes that could build the beard or the mustache. It's just that with some people we turn it on and off. Same with our facial structure. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same principles that go into making a face. But like when building the nose, some noses get built bigger or smaller. It's the same DNA for building the nose, or it's the same gene for building the nose, but different parts of the DNA will say, hey, nose, build it a bit longer, build it a bit smaller. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that because when your soul incarnates, it does influence when certain genes turn on and off, and it starts to shape your face a certain kind of way. Understand also that even if you're born into a lineage that you have no, because like when you start getting into like certain spiritual systems do place an emphasis on physical lineage because people were aware of the fact that although um I'm getting older right now and I'm about to leave this family, I can be reborn inside my grandson. So they set up the bloodline a certain kind of way. They know that I could be reborn through my grandson. Um and when it's time for me to reincarnate, the my grandson's body, right? The body that would have been my grandson is going to be a perfect match for my current soul that's going to reincarnate. But even if you don't have a connection to the even if you don't have a connection to the bloodline like that, doesn't inherently matter because humans pretty much share the same DNA. Like if we share 98% of DNA with chimpanzees, that means that with other humans, my nigga, it's damn near 100%. It's still going to be somewhat different because, once again, certain parts of the DNA control when genes turn on and off. So for me, certain genes turn on and off at different times than you. You know what I'm saying? But it's still basically almost the same exact shit. You feel me? So that's why it don't really matter if you're born into a bloodline that your soul's fully connected to or not. You can still look how you looked in past lives. You can still take on certain qualities and traits that align with your soul that might not have been part of the family at one point because you can affect what genes turn on and off also. You see, you're naturally drawn to because when it comes to families, right, certain families are naturally more prone to expressing certain genes more than other genes. Like certain families are going to be taller. They keep that growth gene on for a while. You know what I'm saying? So they end up being taller, you know? But so yeah, all those so certain families are more prone to naturally turning on and off certain genes at certain periods of time. And your soul matches with families that are naturally prone to turning on certain genes that align with how your soul is expressing itself before incarnation. You see? So real quick, I'm about to let me say this: physical DNA becomes the biological vehicle for expressing soul DNA. So let me check. Let me check some chats real quick. Let me see what y'all talking about. Let me see if y'all understand that. You know what I'm saying? Yo, low key, bro. This could have been a whole entire pay. I could have made y'all pay to get this class. By the way, I'm not gonna do that shit. This shit free as fuck. This is a really good class too. So please appreciate these and value it because I'm not gonna cap to y'all, bro. Like at some point, some of these classes might be either like you gotta pay for it to be like a Zoom call, or it gotta be like a Patreon exclusive, like an exclusive for the school. Because I already do exclusive classes on the school with me and Cash. You know what I'm saying? And on Patreon too. You know what I'm saying? So like, value this while it's free right now because I could have made y'all pay for this shit, but I'm not going to because I fuck with y'all and this was important. And I was being told to make this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like after I break down the charts, I still gotta look at my notes and say certain shit from my goddamn notes. This shit in my notes. Y'all gotta, you know what I'm saying? But let me check real quick. You feel me? Let me pretty, it's not, yeah, it's a little scarf, you know what I'm saying? It's a little scarf. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, I've been freaking this bitch out. I be wearing this bitch as a fucking ninja mask. I wear this as like a fucking little turban joint. I fuck with the scarves, bro. Little head nigga. Yo, I don't know why I wasn't meditating with shit covering my eyes more often, bitch. Like I started doing that shit because I used to have like a sleep mask, but I stopped doing that shit. Like I would leave my body, but I'm trying to see, but the sleep mask blocking my fucking sight out of my body. It was really weird. So I stopped doing that shit. But bitch, now like I'm back on like the put the blindfold on, nigga. It's dark. Yeah, we fuck with that. Anyway, um, yeah. If consciousness isn't limited to biology, why is anybody with so apparently? Let me see. Why is design with so many apparent? What do you mean? What do you mean by evolutionary compromises? What do you mean by that? Like this form actually is very optimal. We just don't use it in an optimal way. You know what I'm saying? Like we could get to a point where like we could once again we could I say this all the time. Like if we became like Talos Immortals, but we could fucking dematerialize and rematerialize. We could fucking have strength without even having like big ass muscles and all kinds of other shit. If we just use those genes more. Like these ancient monks that use the body very efficiently, you know what I'm saying? They turned on genes inside the body that we don't turn the fuck on. You feel me? Do you think biology is the best possible vehicle for consciousness, or simply no? It's not the best vehicle. It's just one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like our biology is great for the physical plane, and this body does allow us to process our own consciousness in a really effective way. But like there's other vehicles like the astral body for different expressions of consciousness depending on what you want to do and what you want to experience, right? So I want to say like it's the best possible. It might be right now, it might be the best for physical experience, you could say one of the best for physical experience, right? But yeah. Could an advanced intelligent design can an advanced design something better than the human one, or understand that when beings begin to work with DNA, how can I put this shit, bro? All right, first things first. I would say that you might need to, yeah, this part. This is what you should have first asked. Is the human body an optimized design? It actually is. The human body, right? Because I'm talking about DNA and science knows it. They talk about 12-strand DNA and shit like that right now. How true it is, I can't look inside myself, but I have had beings talk to me about that shit, right? My point is the fact that even if we don't have 12-strand DNA, nigga, our body is built to embody energies from all 12 planes. We can tap into everything through this body. We just don't use our full potential. You know what I'm saying? We just don't fully activate all of our genes. You know what I'm saying? So the body is very optimal when it's used properly. So with that being said, like could advanced beings build like a more optimal form? Possibly, but what makes you think that could advanced beings build a more optimal form? Yes, but who's to say that this form isn't already the most optimal? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was good that I did that for sure, for sure. And as far as is it an optimized design or result of evolution? So it's both, right? It's both. You know what I'm saying? Evolution is a thing for sure, but evolution isn't the only thing. You see, when humans were first humans, they weren't born through wombs and shit like that. You simply just had the soul that would materialize itself physically. And when it did that, it had DNA that we have right now. Like when the soul became physical and it had eyes, yeah, we still have eyes now. It's the same DNA. When the soul became physical and had two arms, yeah, we have the same DNA from back then. You know? So like DNA is just information. It's literally just information. Information came before the physical form. DNA is just a physical form of information. You see? And when DNA is formed, like you can have the soul's information that makes DNA, but once that DNA is made, it can be influenced by the outside world and it can evolve over time. So it's both, you know, like evolution has a big part, but so does consciousness. Consciousness created DNA, and that DNA is evolving itself in different ways. You could say it like that. That's what's up, bro. Glad to hear that. Thank you, glad. I already answered this question, bro. You know what I'm saying? I already answered this question, my guy. You got to go back. I'm gonna say it once again, bro. Please pay attention. Please pay attention this time. Worship is not a product of DNA. Worship is a product of the mind. There are beings that don't have physical DNA that still worship other beings. Okay? There's beings that you would leave your body and they have light bodies, right? With no physical DNA, and they worship other beings. So, is there actually a worship gene? Maybe. But even if there is a worship gene, nah, you good, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's probably some more people besides you who's inside here that want to hear about it anyway. So I'll say it again. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all don't want to go back and like we want to be live here all together. So I'm sure some new people joined who ain't hear the shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I just gotta say it again, you know what I'm saying? Not just you, but for others people also. Anyway, yeah. If there is a worship gene, it would just be a product of the fact that, once again, information comes before DNA, and the ability to worship came before DNA. So it could just be that in the mind, once people started using the mind and became separate from their soul, they started worshiping things. And when those people became physical, it could have made a worship gene. But I wouldn't even think about it like that, bro. Because worship, once again, isn't even like it's not rooted in DNA. It's more rooted in the mind. And there can be, it's possible that certain gene expressions can make you more likely to worship. One thing I did say is that survival itself can make you worship something. When you're living in survival mode and you want to when you're living in survival mode and you feel like you need some kind of power that you don't have, you feel more inclined to worship something else outside of you. You want to draw power from something outside because you're in survival mode. Most people worship God and Christ because they're just scared of going to hell. They're in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? So like worship is a byproduct of a whole bunch of other shit, like separation, fear, survival. Feel me? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I hope that that cleared up some things. Cause like I said, we hear the stories about the worship gene and stuff like that. That shit, you know what I'm saying, could be real, but the worship gene is not rooted, or worship is not rooted. If there is a worship gene, worship itself is now rooted in DNA. It came before DNA was even a thing. For sure. Yeah, my gotta do the next one gotta be paid. You know, where yeah, you know what I'm saying, dinner wherever uncle that is like your valid, bro. All right, bet let's get into the last diagram. You mean? Let's get into the last diagram. You mean? Yeah, let me set some water first. My throat getting dry. Yeah, people are only locked into that because one day some guy said it was a thing, and they said, "Oh my god, that must be true," and then they just believed inside of it. You know what I'm saying? Once again, like worship is a product of other things. So it's like, because like if you're a human who's not in survival mode, if you're a human that knows themselves, you would never worship. You know what I'm saying? Like at all. And there's people that grow up in life who don't know themselves at all, and they're in survival mode and they still don't worship anything. Like some people are, like just would never worship. And those people could be in a family of humans. Like there's people that's born in Christian families who are heavy worshipers, but that person who was born in the family is not a worshiper. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if it was like purely genetic, you would see that more people naturally gravitate to worship, but some people just don't do that. Like some just don't gravitate to worship. And this next part This is a perfect segue, actually, bro. I fucking love this shit. This is a because when we talk about epigenetics, this is gonna explain that worship shit partially. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like a lot of shit that spreads online is just the fact that one guy said something, another guy liked it, five more guys liked it, then it became a big deal. Saw a lot of shit, especially in New Age, saw a lot of shit gets formed. Like the Age of Aquarius. I made a whole PowerPoint about how it's not the Age of Aquarius. Like, although we would fucking love it if it was, it isn't. It's still the Age of Pisces, which isn't a bad thing. It's actually kind of fucking lit. And like, it's not hard to find out what astrological age it is. All you had to do was on the spring solstice, just look at the sky and look at what constellation was behind the sun. The constellation was Pisces, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Astrological ages are determined by what zodiac sign the spring equinox happens in. Did I say solstice? I meant to say equinox. But so with that being said, like the spring equinox is the first day of spring. So on the first day of spring, all you had to do was look at the sun and see what constellation was behind it. Nigga, it was Pisces. And the first day of spring is going to be in Pisces for several more years. Although Western astrology says that springtime is Aries season, that's because Western astrology is not looking at actual star placements. It's talking about the seasons of Earth. Springtime naturally has an Aries-like energy, no matter what fucking stars are in the goddamn sky. But if you're looking at the stars in the goddamn sky, you see that on the spring equinox, the constellation behind the sun was Pisces. Why do I say this? Because niggas just said the Age of Aquarius and just believed that shit and never did no goddamn research, including me. That's what the fuck I did. That's what the fuck I did until I said, hold the fuck up. How do we know what age it actually is? You do some research, all that shit falls the fuck apart. So like a lot of shit is just some guy said something, now we believe it because a lot of other niggas said it after hearing the one guy say it. Come on now. Let's be honest. So yeah, niggas be locked into mad concepts that have no merit at all, to be honest. Or the merit that they do have is very minor. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's popular and has been popular for many years, that does not make it true. And people in New Age need to understand that. Just because you hear certain stories get told so many times, that does not make it true, my nigga. You feel me? Fairy tales have been told for a while now. You know what I'm saying? Some of them shits, I mean, granted, we know that fairy tales are real, but like the metaphor is the fact that like fake stories have been told for a while. You know what I'm saying? This modern day and age does not change that. There are some stories that just did not happen at all. Okay? And that sounds arrogant when you start leaving your body and seeing shit for yourself, and you also know other people who leave their body and see the same exact shit that you've seen. It's like, gang, I'm not about to try to convince you what the fuck is the truth, but bitch, I'm damn sure not gonna convince myself that what the fuck you think is true when I know that it's not. You feel me? But let's talk about how your genes affect your personality. This is epigenetics right here, right? So your starting blueprint, you have your genes. You are born with genes. They are like a recipe book with many possible outcomes. Genes do not decide your future. They create possibilities. Just like your soul's template creates possibilities, not set experiences. Although some things can be set, like with your genes are going to make that eyeball. That's set in stone. But other parts of your genes and shit is not set in stone. Some parts of your template set in stone. Other parts of your template not so set in stone. Your environment and experiences, the ingredients around you. So family, culture, school and learning, friends and community, life events. These experiences send signals to your body and your genes. Your habits and your choices, what you do every day, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, how you think, what you focus on, who you spend time with. These daily choices are messages to your body. What this does to your genes is that it turns certain genes on and off. When a gene is on, the gene is active and working. When the gene is off, the gene is quiet and it rests. Think of genes like a light. Your environments and your habits flip the switches on or off. This is how your life influences your biology. So, this part right here, actually, let me read this part right here too. What happens inside your body? The changes that you feel. Brain chemicals change, hormones adjust, immune system responds, energy levels shift, stress response adjusts. These changes affect how you feel, think, and act. So these are just different things that happen. Well, yeah, these are things like more outside of you. This is stuff inside you that affects how your genes turn on and off. And the thing is, the things outside of you affect these things, which is why they affect your genes. Like things outside of you might make you have certain thoughts that produce certain hormones that affect your genes. You know what I'm saying? But then also vice versa. Some genes produce the hormone itself. So it's like a feedback loop. But my point is the fact that yeah, the shit that happens in your life does affect what genes turn on and off. Now, this also shapes your temperament. This shapes like your temperament is your natural wiring essentially. It deals with how sensitive you are, how you handle stress, how bold or cautious you are, how easily you get excited, how you connect with others, right? Now, your temperament can be seen at birth before anything influences you. And this is what I wanted to mention. You see, somebody who has a temperament that's very sensitive, for example, they're prone to being more emotional. Somebody that has a temperament that's a bit more bold, they're naturally a bit more confident. Some people with the temperament that determine, or some people with a temperament that makes them very cautious, they might get very weary of certain things, which could make them want to worship something and put faith outside themselves because they can't even trust themselves. See what I'm trying to say? So your genes can make you more likely to worship something. But would it be like a specific worship gene? It's probably that you have certain genes that affect your temperament, and based upon your temperament, you're more likely to worship something or not. So, yeah, the genes that you have influences your behaviors. It influences what you do, how you act, what you say, how you relate, what you focus on. Your behaviors create your experiences and your future. And your life begins to create more experiences. You have the feedback loop. You have where you act, life responds, you experience, you learn and adapt, you act, life responds. So what I'm trying to say is, right, things outside of you affect you. You start to think in certain kinds of ways, you perceive certain kinds of things. This affects your genes. That makes you do something because you did something, you take in information. What you take in also affects your genes. Once again, it's a loop. Things outside of you affect you and things inside of you affect you. And the things inside you that affect you can make you do things outside yourself, which affects you again inside yourself. And it's this never ending loop. So, yeah, your genes are always adapting, they're always listening. Over time, your genes continue turning on or off based upon your life. This is why you can grow, heal, and transform. This builds your personality over time. Your temperament plus your experiences plus your choices shape your personality. Personality is not personality is not fixed. It is built every day. This is why you can have identical twins that have pretty much the same exact DNA and all that type of shit, but they can express themselves very differently. You'll see that some things are the same and some things can be very different. Now, understand that your genes can affect the big five personality traits, which scientists talk about, right? So, number one is your openness, like how open you are, how curious you are, how creative you are, how open to new things. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people are more open and more closed off. Your DNA affects that. Understand though that you can ultimately change that. You could be like, if you're born inside of a family that tends to be very skeptical, you might also end up being skeptical. But over time, you can stop being skeptical. So people that are a bit more open, they might just be open to believing in certain shit. They're open to new ideas and concepts. They're like, yeah, that shit sounds so true. You know what I'm saying? Other ones are like, no, nigga, that's all bullshit. Your genes can affect that. And that could bleed over into things like worship. Conscientiousness, right? Your genes affect it also, like how responsible you are, how disciplined you are, how organized you are. Your genes can affect that also. How extroverted or introverted you are, your genes can affect that. How agreeable you are. It can also affect your neuroticism. You see? And let me move myself real quick so y'all can actually read that shit. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? You smell me? But yeah, so it's never ending loop, bro. So the keys to remember: genes open the door, you walk through the door, your choices build the path, and you become your story. So genes give you certain possibilities, which you can choose to walk through or not. You can choose to express the possibilities or not. The possibilities that you choose begin to create your path, right? And the possibilities that you've chosen, which build your path, this begins to form your personality. So the beautiful truth, right, is that you are not just your genes. You are the co-creator of your life. You were given a starting point, but every day you get to write the next chapter. How the change happens, the simple version. Genes are like different seeds. Your environment, your experiences, things like that are the soil, water, and sunlight. So your experiences and your environment are the things that actually activate these different seeds. Your habits and your choices are what you do every day to help them grow. So you constantly give yourself certain experiences, you constantly put yourself in certain environments in order to grow certain seeds. Over time, those seeds grow into who you become. So your genes will affect your temperament and your main personality traits, but also your environment, the things that you do. This also affects how your genes turn on and off, which affects your personality as well. So some parts of your personality, yes, they are influenced by your genes, but you can choose to deactivate and reactivate certain shit if you want to. So you have a power. Small daily choices create big changes over time. Your future's inside your hands. For example, let's say you had past lives where you had a lot of anger issues. You're going to incarnate in a family, or let's say that you have a past life where you had anger issues, and inside your next life, you need to kind of like work on that, right? You might get drawn to a family where they are more naturally angry, right? They might not be that agreeable. They might be always like mad and don't want to hear what the fuck you gotta say. And shit. Like they might not be as kind and as caring, you know. So you get born into that family, and now you have the same anger issues as your family, not just because you were born into that family, but also because nigga, you inside your soul's expression, you were experiencing anger, so you went to a body that has genes that typically express that often. You see? So now let me go to the chat. See what y'all ladies and gents is talking about. You know what I'm saying? Let me wait, bow, and then pull up YouTube and then pull the chat up because that shit was showing some other shit. You feel me? All right. Bow. I'm glad you made it to the class too. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead. Do not worship Genie. That was a funny ass joke, but do not worship Genie. Do not, please. um, yeah, hi, my yes, a fact. Hi, Gene. I'm a mom from NC. Oh, you from NC? That's what's up. That's what's up. I just wanted to say that I resonate strongly with you and your teachers. I think you're very cool. I wish you didn't curse so much. Yo, a lot of people say that, bro. And look, if I were to give you $1 million, but it was a package that looked kind of ugly, would you still take the $1 million? Most of y'all, if not all of y'all, you're gonna take that millions of dollars. That's a metaphor. If I'm providing something of value, you know what I'm saying? I might curse while providing it, but shit, it's still valuable. You feel me? Now, like on certain platforms and at certain times, I do control my language, but it's like my expression cannot be limited. You feel me? And by the way, I'm not even mad at you saying because you showing love right now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not even mad at you. It'd be other motherfuckers who's like, you curse too much, you're such a you know what I'm saying? You know? So it's like I feel it, you know what I'm saying? I get how like cursing can make certain people feel uncomfortable. I get that for sure. And in certain environments, you know what I'm saying, I will tune myself to not be like that. Like on certain podcasts, I don't curse like that. You feel me? So I know how it can be interpreted, you know. So I'm not even mad that you said this shit. Like you have your own opinion, you allowed to feel that way. You still showing love. You know what I'm saying? You saying this shit out of love and whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? So that's cool. I think it's beautiful. You see, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. I think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful too. You know? I ain't even mad. I ain't mad you said that. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to say that, you know, my boy is take chill. You know what I'm saying? I don't think she meant it like that, you know? But maybe you didn't mean this like that. I could be tripping right now. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, bro. You know, I curse a lot, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Other being like you could be out of your body and start cursing and stuff. Like beings will not care like that. They'll be like, word, like what the fuck is that? So this is the universe. You know what I'm saying? It's the headscarf, guys. I'm dead. um, but yeah. So I'm probably gonna be cursing for a while. I can't lie. But yeah, on certain platforms and with certain things, I try to dress it up. And I was like let's say like I made this like a paid class. I probably wouldn't be cursing to be honest. If this was a paid class, I probably would not be cursing. You feel me? Like on the school with me and Cash, I do not curse like that. You feel me? On my platform, though, it's gonna get wild over here. We in the trenches over here. You feel me? I'm here to help everybody awaken, but especially I'm here to help everybody awaken, but especially my trench babies. You know what I'm saying? Even if not a trench baby, you just grew up a little bit rough. Even if you was like in the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't in the hood for most of my life. I was in the suburbs most of my life. You know what I'm saying? Um, So even if you're from the burbs, but shit was just a little bit hard and stuff like that. I'm talking to y'all mainly. You know what I'm saying? The ones where we just gonna kick it. It's like we in the car right now smoking a blunt, and I'm just chatting the shit right now. You feel me? I'm doing content mainly for people like that, but I do also care about other people too, which is why I do consider the cursing stuff on certain platforms with certain teachings and stuff like that. But I kind of want this teaching. I mean, I wish more people knew this stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not mad if niggas sleep on this shit because I know how valuable this is, and I feel like I want the people who really rock with me to get the information, and that's why I could still fuck with you because shoot, if it was somebody else cursing, doing a whole bunch of hoopla, you might say that guy, But you hear what I'm saying? You see the value. So you know you don't like cursing. You're like, I'ma still listen. No, it's like although the package look ugly, that shit's still $1 million. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like normally I wouldn't tolerate this kind of profanity, but this shit some gems, some still gonna listen to what you know what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, because a part of me kind of likes when I turn off certain people from my channel. I get certain comments. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you don't. I get certain comments. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm glad that you don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about because you're not the person that needs this shit. But you're dope though. I fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with you. You was nice about your shit too. Yeah, I appreciate you, bro. It might be my stuff, but the senior keeps it fresh. I'm not sure. I just wanted to say, huh? Interesting. Is my live fucking up for y'all? But I bet we just broke down the charts and shit. If y'all have any questions about that, let me know. I'm about to look at my notes real quick though, because I took notes before this. I took notes. I took notes before making all the charts, and then the charts explain certain notes better. So, because I was playing this shit for a while, bro. Like I had experience in the astral, and them niggas came back like, bitch, DNA this, DNA that. Like them niggas start telling me shit, and they're like, yeah, nigga, teach this shit to the people. I'm like, I bet, but I ain't had time to go live about it. You know what I'm saying? And they said I had to go live about it. So you know what I'm saying? I knew I had to wait a little bit, and it was good because I had time to process more shit. And then literally last night, same shit. I was being told certain shit that I gotta tell y'all. So nigga at 2 a.m. I was up just making certain charts. You know what I'm saying? But up since 2 a.m. doing that shit, my nigga. You feel me? Yeah, let me check my notes real quick though, so that I make sure I hit everything. You feel me? Both sound good, but two. Oh, where you probably behind in the stream a little bit. But let me. All right, so I'm gonna just read the notes and comment whenever I got a comment. So I put inside my John, the spirit creates a soul to focus its creative potential into one awareness that could generate multiple experiences and forms of expression. We already talked about that, right? About how the spirit, you got the soul template that makes a soul and stuff like that. So I talked about that. It was important to understand. Let me see. The pet is not ugly. Trust me, it's more amazing than some people can imagine. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. It's just a little rough around the edges. I feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it could be taped down just a little bit more. So some of the edges might be a little bit sharp. I feel it. You know what I'm saying? A little rough around the edges. I feel it. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Bow. So yeah, the spirit creates a soul. And based on the template of the soul is naturally drawn towards expressing its creativity in certain ways through its expression and creating certain experiences. So yeah, because you have a template, you are drawn to certain expressions and stuff like that and certain experiences. Why does fear okay, actually I'll talk about that later. The soul expresses itself through light, which allows it to have form and personality. When the soul incarnates in the physical, the body and genetic lineage the soul incarnates into matches the soul's current expression at the period of incarnation. The light of the soul is drawn to specific gene expressions, which will allow it to express its current personality. So we talked about that inside the chart also. This is a good part. This is why karma makes you incarnate and reincarnate. Since the way you have been expressing yourself naturally draws you to experiences and bloodlines, which will allow you to express yourself in a certain kind of way, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. So let's back up a little bit. Karma, right? Karma just means action, and it refers to the different actions that you do on different levels. Mental actions through your thoughts, emotional actions through your feelings, right? That's what karma is. So karma programs you to be a certain kind of way. Like when it comes to your soul's template, that's like a group of karma, a group of potential actions that you can do. And as you express yourself a certain kind of way over and over again, you start to act based upon your karma. Pretty much it's like how people are controlled by their habits. Your habits are made from karma. You do an action that plants a seed, that seed begins to birth itself more and more, making you do that action more and more. And based upon the actions that you do, you start to get a certain natural form of expression that gets drawn to certain physical bloodlines, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So if you have a karmic tendency of feeling like a victim, that karma, that expression of being a victim is going to carry you into a family where you are more likely to express yourself physically also as a victim, not just mentally. You see? Um, all right, now here's another thing. I said this, yeah, this is why DNA and lineage is so important to certain groups of people, especially when used consciously, as it allows you to stay connected with the physical family that has a form of expression which your soul enjoys and is used to, allowing the soul to remember who it is, or allowing the soul to remember who it has once been and continue to care whatever it wants. So here's what I mean, right? Cool. So y'all know that a lot of people are big on like ancestors and bloodline. It's a big thing with Africans, with natives, all that type of stuff, right? Part of it is because right now, right, if I were to have kids, I can think inside my mind that like, yo, my my reincarnation might be as one of my grandkids, for example. And what I'm trying to say is, right, like, so when you preserve a bloodline and you have certain rituals and practices associated with the bloodline, you know, you have certain abilities and traits associated with the bloodline, and you keep those things in the bloodline. Now, when somebody in that bloodline dies, if they want to reincarnate, they can reincarnate into the same bloodline and pick back up where they left off at, you know? Because if I have kids and then my kids have kids and shit like that, and I get reborn inside my grandkids, the DNA inside my grandkids is going to have information that ties back to who I am right now inside this life. So it would be easier to pick back up where I left off at. And that's why when merging bloodlines, when marrying certain people is a very important thing. That's why certain traditions had to be aligned in order for two people to marry, because they don't want to mess up the bloodline and fuck up future generations and fuck up souls. They want to reincarnate into a similar form of expression. Now, granted, your soul doesn't have to reincarnate inside the same bloodline, but your soul, depending on its template and its purpose and different shit, some souls will prefer to incarnate into the same bloodline over and over again, because although these are different lifetimes, there are similar traits and expressions that need to be tapped into for every single lifetime, if that makes any sense. Also, even when not talking about like past lives, right? When you understand the importance of your bloodline, even if I like, let's like, technically I could be one of my ancestors. The soul that's inside this body could have been inside of my great 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 grandfather's body. Whether it was or wasn't, though, doesn't really matter, because if I access the information of this bloodline, I can still tap into those past ways of expression, those past traits, those past abilities and stuff like that. And when you get far enough, your origins are in the divine anyway. You know, yo, what's popping, Jolie? So when it comes to, because like I said, there's a period of time when we weren't born through wombs. Like inside the, like when you have the womb, your mom helps to form your body based upon some of the information inside your dad's sperm, you know? So I'm saying this because before you had a womb, souls would just form their own bodies. They could just incarnate and just be looking like a 30-year-old man. This is what their DNA looks like and shit. You know what I'm saying? Which means that that DNA, like when a soul, like when souls would just incarnate and just become physical naturally, that DNA came directly from the divine origins of the soul. So DNA itself is divine. Like there's not like some DNA that is or isn't divine. No, nigga, all DNA is divine. All of it. You know what I'm saying? All DNA is divine. Because all DNA is just information. And some information can be seen as more divine than other information, but information itself comes from the divine. You see? So if you trace your DNA back far enough, nigga, you have godly DNA, regardless of whether you were an Arcturian or some type of other higher being. Nigga, for everybody, the height of your DNA comes from gods. You see? You are a god. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact. Genetically also. So, yeah, bro, blood loss can be important if you want to preserve certain memories and wisdom from the people in your bloodline. And also, if you want to set yourself up to reincarnate into another physical form that is naturally geared towards expressing itself how your soul wants to express itself. This will help you to tap into past lives way easier, all that shit. Tapping into my bloodlines, let me tap it into my bloodline has allowed me to download like a lot of past lives for myself, a lot of ancient wisdom. Like even if you're in a bloodline that's not like even if this is your first time being in a bloodline, that bloodline can have information that still connects to your past lives, right? So let's say that like in a past life you were a slave, and then you get born into a physical bloodline where those people were slaves. Even if that's your first time in that bloodline, when you tap into the information, when even if that's your first time in that bloodline, if you tap into the genetic information in your DNA that deals with slavery, that can still help you with your soul's experiences. That can still help you with your soul's experiences of slavery from other lifetimes that are disconnected from the bloodline. You see, that's a fact. All right. So I put down here, this is where some soul traps come into play. Since if beings trick you at the time of death, they may trick you to reincarnate into a family where you are a victim to horrible things due to the fact that you were expressing yourself as a victim by giving your power away to a certain being. So when you fuck all that soul trip and you super duper scared and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? You express yourself as a victim. You express yourself in a fearful way, and now you begin to reincarnate into lifetimes that will promote fear and victimhood and stuff like that. You see? Because your expression matches that DNA inside that bloodline. Yeah, I'll read this part next. The way you act and behave now can activate and deactivate certain genes. The memory of your lineage is stored in your DNA, allowing the genes with that. These notes are typed up kind of. Let me see. What was I trying to say? The memory of your lineage is stored in your DNA, allowing the genes with allowing you with the genes which you may begin to express something. What the fuck was I trying to say in this one point? My fault, yo. I was rushing and shit when I was typing out these fucking notes. It was just coming through mad quickly. Um, the memory of your lineage is stored in your DNA, allowing the genes that express certain. I the main gist of what I was trying to get at is that yes, the memory of people in your lineage is stored inside your DNA, and you can tap into that DNA, and you might begin to express that ancestral DNA based on the things you express. Okay, yeah, I was trying to get at the fact how certain experiences in your life can reactivate ancestral DNA. So your ancestors have been through certain experiences, and those experiences make them express certain kinds of DNA. The memory is also stored inside your body. And when certain genes get expressed, the memories of those genes also begin to activate. And when you are in your physical reality, you might experience certain physical things that activate genes which your ancestors also had activated, which taps you into the memory of your ancestors. It's kind of like if your ancestors been through slavery and then inside this life you end up going to jail, and that feeling of being confined inside of a space that can make you activate genes and memories that was tied to slavery in your ancestral lineage and stuff like that. There's also possible like abilities too. Like let's say you come from a long line of people who meditate, right? If you begin to meditate, the genes that your ancestors had on and the memories that they had, which are tied to meditation, will activate inside of you, whether you're aware of it or not. You know? And there's something else I want to say, I feel like. Oh, Yeah, with your past lives and shit like that. So when you begin to tap into certain past lives, different genes naturally turn on and off. That's because those past lives have certain expressions, and you have different genes in your body that control certain expressions. So if your past life expression is the same as your present life expression, you start to activate certain genes inside your DNA. So when you tap into past lives, DNA can naturally activate due to the simple fact that you start to tap into information that will express itself through the physical body via gene activation, you know? And I did also put that trauma is stored in the DNA, which can affect the activation of certain genes. That's important also because some people, like, okay, so this is a great one. When it comes to a lot of African people's ancestral wisdom, a lot of people cannot access it because there's a giant barrier of trauma, which is tied to slavery. A lot of Africans were practicing their spiritual practices and then got put into slavery and then got punished for practicing their spiritual practices. So, when tapping into that ancestral wisdom, there's a sense of punishment that comes with it that's stored inside your DNA. There's trauma in your DNA that can affect gene expression because you might try to tap into a certain ancient power, but if that ancient power also has some kind of shame surrounding it, it might be hard to fully access that gene because of the shame that you have surrounding that expression that is tied to that gene. So, and this is why trauma can actually help to activate a lot of our abilities because a lot of our abilities are tied to trauma, especially if you're like African and like, or even if you're like, even if you have past lives where like you were persecuted for being like a witch, for example, you know, when you tap into your powers, it first feels like prosecution until you overcome that shit. Now it becomes power. You see? So be aware of that. Like when it comes to Lyrans, a lot of Lyrans can't even fully access their power because there was Lyrans that were put into slavery. And when they tap into their power, that trauma of slavery begins to pop up, even if you don't think inside your head, like, oh my God, I was enslaved. It's like just the energy of enslavement naturally stops to my fault. I just got a touch from my girlfriend. I had to stop looking at that shit. Trying to tap into Lyran past lives can naturally bring up uncomfortable feelings that you don't even notice. And if you kind of just like trap the gene and making it like you might like, let's say that you told yourself that I will never do this again. You just shut off a gene. You just shut off a gene for a long time saying that shit. You could say, as a Lyran, I would never make the same mistakes as a Lyran ever again. And you just shut off that Lyran gene inside yourself. Because once again, if humans and lions share 90% of the same DNA, you can only imagine that actual Lyrans and humans share even more DNA. And that means that a lot of our DNA is similar and a lot of our gene expression is similar, you know? So, like, it's not even that there's like a Lyran gene, it's just that Lyrans express certain genes that you might start to call Lyran genes. Like for example, Lyrans are naturally courageous, you know, they're naturally warriors, right? So there's certain genes that can make you naturally confident, naturally powerful, naturally warrior based, right? Some genes can make you just naturally be like that. So with that being said, when you activate the gene of courage for the Lyran self and your human self, it's technically the same as that gene. And when you activate that gene, it's going to have the same memories of every single time in past lives when you were courageous. So if you activate that, and I'm just saying the courage gene. I don't know if I don't know if there's like a specific courage gene. I'm just like, that's an example. So let's say that you have several lifetimes where you acted from that courage warrior state. If you activate that gene right now, it also will tie you to the memories of other times when you had that gene activated. You see? and your soul begins to remember. So I wanted to add that too. And that's pretty much everything which I wanted to share. So let me know if this made sense to y'all. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how you feeling about this. Let me know what's going on inside your minds. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. All right. Where does fear sit in all this? Is there still fear beyond here? Is fear? Nah. Fear is really just a part of not knowing. Your fear just comes from ignorance, right? Like when you like in in order for you to fear something, you need to think that this is gonna harm you, right? Like if you fear somebody, you likely think that this person can harm you, you know. But if you tap in with your soul can never be harmed. So you're just like, nigga, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So fear is a product of ignorance, which is created by the mind. It's not even created by the body at first, because there's beings that don't have physical bodies that still live in fear, because fear is created through the mind. A lot of these lower states are created because of the mind. The mind makes you think in separation. Because you have separation, you start to feel separate from your power sometimes, and now you're able to feel fear. You know what I'm saying? So that's where fear comes from. Fear comes from ignorance, essentially. You don't know your power, so you have fear that other things have more power than you. It's like one way to see it, you know. I could go deeper, but that's